Okay, so now I'm going to start doing some messy work. Let me see. So this, I haven't gone through the work of writing a .emacs for this, but this is the replaces that I do on C++ code to sort of get it more like the syntax uh, of my language. And it doesn't really do all the work, and there's still some manual stuff that has to be done, but in the meantime, this gets rid of some of the grunt work. So what I'm going to do, let's go look at some code from the witness for a second in a different editor instance. Let's look at cache decoder, right? So this is a thing that pages in sound files of different kinds, right? So this is relatively more hardcore than most people do it, right? Most people, if they're paging in, assume you're going to page a sound sequentially and all that stuff. I don't do that because remember, my last game was Braid where we played music backwards all the time and shit, right? So this is made to handle that and all kinds of different situations. So you sort of break the sound file into different logical pages and you cache a certain number of them at a time. And I don't know why decoder Bink is still here because we don't do Bink audio anymore, but we do ADPCM and OGG in the witness. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to port this code over. And so this is the base class. And then I'm also going to port over the derived class for OGG. So let's look at that. What's it called? It's called cached OGG decoder. Which also does Opus. So I'm going to get rid of the Opus stuff for now because I don't want to link Opus yet. We'll probably link Opus eventually, but I didn't compile it before the session and whatever. So this does Vorbis and Opus. And it's not that much code. Especially when you consider there's duplication between Opus and Vorbis. Anyway, so my first goal is going to be just to make this base class compile at all, and then we'll try and use it, and then we'll try and use it in a test to just decode some pages. And if that appears to work, then maybe we'll go all the way of integrating it into the mixer. Because this is a thing that the mixer talks to. Like the mixer says, oh, maybe we're loading from a save game and this ambient audio that's 5 minutes long, we were 2.5 minutes into playing it. So we want to resume at that 2.5 minute mark, right? So it'll start playing it in the middle. It'll start requesting pages from the middle and all that kind of stuff. So like I said, we might not finish that tonight. I'm not sure how late I'm going to want to sit here and eat pretzels rather than going and getting real dinner. I might lose my voice even further than I am. So we'll see. Any questions about the goal statement here of what I'm trying to do? Is any of this unclear? I am someone's saying resuming ambient audio from the save game is hardcore. That's the only right way to do it. Like you don't want someone's game state to be way different or certain parts of it to be different because they resume their game. It doesn't make any sense, right? You want a very solid experience at all times. That was actually one of the things I didn't like about Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. You know, when you rewound it, like things didn't really go backwards correctly. The game was sort of faking it, and you could tell when you rewound. I think that's one of the things people like about Braid, even if though they don't notice it very explicitly, is just that when you rewind in that game, um, it goes backwards correctly, and you see everything undo, and you hear everything go backwards and all that. So that kind of stuff matters. I don't know if we'll demo music scrubbing. We could do it. I don't have a UI for that. I could scrub it based on where your ship is on the screen. I don't know. We'll see. First, let's get this working. Other questions? Questions? Looks like no questions. Okay. So someone's asking me about game. I don't want to get into rat holing about my opinion about games right now. Once I'm done with the witness, what happens to the company? Well, it depends on if enough people buy the witness for us to stay in business. If that happens, we will be making some cool stuff. If it doesn't, then I have to go off and make cool stuff by myself. But I think people will buy the game, hopefully. But you can never be too sure. You can never be cocky about that stuff because all kinds of indie games have been coming out lately and bombing hard. So that's always a possibility. I want another cupcake. Screw these pretzels. I'm having a cupcake. I'm going to have to skip over all this. You know what? I'm going to split. No, let's not split the screen again. I'll just remember to skip over all this. I'm going to use the cupcake as my cue point for when I upload this to YouTube later. Oh, no, because never mind. Because I did all that preview of the cache decoder stuff. I want that to stay in. Someone says there seems to be criticism of your decision to make the witness hard. Thoughts? No, I have no thoughts. People have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. They haven't played the game. So if people think they know anything about it, they're kidding themselves. So I keep wanting to make games that require more resources than Braid. Maybe. There's benefits to making small games, and there are drawbacks. I would like to make games faster than we made The Witness, which I think is very possible, especially now that we've got a good engine under our belt and all that. As for the production value, I mean, I think it depends on a game-by-game basis what you need to do. Most of the ideas for games that I would want to do next are substantially more asset heavy or production value heavy than Braid was. But if I have to go back to making games by myself, I will be able to do that. So I don't think that'll be necessary, but we'll see. Does my 20-year game use the Witness engine? Well, I think what it's going to do is it's going to use this programming language because I don't want to be stuck programming in C++ for 20 years. But it may use adapted parts of the Witness engine. for example, the mixer, and in fact this work that I'm doing today, probably goes in the 20-year game. Right now the 20-year game is in a descendant of the Braid engine because it's being prototyped mostly in 2D rendering, but it's likely to be 3D rendering when it ships. I think it would be cool to open source the Witness engine at some point. Other people were less enthusiastic about it. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Okay. Let's do some work. So first I'm just going to make the base class compile. And I think this extra trailing sample stuff is not used anymore. Or maybe it is. Let me look. Extra trailing. Yeah, we don't use that. So I'm going to clean that up as I go. So I'm going to make a cached decoder module. And I'm just going to pile everything into this file for now. We don't need forward declarations. We don't need pragma once. We don't need extra trailing samples. All right. So I'm just going to do the struct by hand because it's not that big. And then when we get to the functions, we'll do them. I mean, this whole thing just, well, most of this goes away, right? Well, let's do it. Let's go top to the file down. So now C++ uses int, which is of ill-deformed size, or ill-defined size. I like to define my sizes, especially if I'm making code for other people to reuse. I do have an int type, and it's defined to be S64, but I added that because I thought that I would like to be more casual about sizes sometimes, but I'm sort of, as I get in the habit of only having defined sizes, I'm sort of enjoying knowing that. So maybe I won't like having the int type eventually, and maybe I'll get rid of it. By default, I make all my buffer sizes 64 bits because you don't want to overflow. Anything that initializes to 0 or false or anything like that, you don't have to specify. You can just say the type. Although here, for some reason, for Booleans, my personal style is that I like saying true or false rather than the type. I don't know why. It's just what I like doing. And get rid of that junk. Oh yeah, I need to translate these. Type is a decoder type, and owner is a pointer to cache decoder. All right. Cache decoder is a struct, right? And we don't need any of the functions because we'll get those when we type it in, and this isn't one of those languages that needs header files. So all this junk goes away. All right. So we've got an array of pages. And I guess that's a dynamic length array. We might want to make that statically sized later, but for now we'll leave it dynamic. And same thing here. All right. Let's just go ahead and so sound data, remember, interfaces with that sound catalog that we were just editing, and sound stream interfaces with the mixer. So we're sort of referring to very engine-specific functionality. And that's the thing, you know, I'm sort of thinking about trying to provide this stuff as a library, but it's really kind of interwoven and it may be very difficult to break them apart. So I might just at some point say, these aren't individual libraries, this is just an engine. And I'm going to try to factor the engine apart as much as possible if you want to try to reuse a piece of the engine, but maybe it's just an engine, right? Oh, add decode queue item. This is like a function pointer that was, all right. Hi, doggy. We have visitors. Hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? You're never coming on Saturday. I'm streaming right now. It's live. And it's using that mic even, so. Let's say hi to all the people. Let's say hi. Ooh. And let's have a cupcake. Oh yeah. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's have a cupcake. I don't know if this is on camera. All right. Oh yeah. Good. Good. A little more. It's falling apart. Oh yeah. All right. I don't know if that means you don't get your usual snack that you get upon coming in the office. That might have been it.
Well, you have to take off this thing
Yeah.
and then.
How do I take it off? Okay. All right, buddy. Hey. Now he doesn't know what's going to happen. He's like, this doesn't usually go this way. He's eating random stuff off the ground. Okay, I'll give you a little more because you know that you get the snack after the harness comes off. So
Really cool.
I'm getting cupcake frosting all in my hands. All right. All right. Chat was cleared by a moderator. What was actually happening? Do I have to ban people from the channel? What's going on in the chat? Are people anti-dogs in the chat? No, I don't know. Someone who has moderator privileges cleared the chat for some reason. I don't know. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that the chat is pro dog. Dog is glad to hear it too. The dog is pro cupcake. I don't know. I find that people, you know, I don't have a very high opinion of garbage collected languages and things like that. And I've implemented several garbage collected languages. Like back in college, I was sure that was the future, right? Because eliminating programmer drudge work and all that. Why wouldn't you do that? But now that I'm a much more seasoned programmer and have a lot of experience in programs that need to be fast, I do not like garbage collectors. I do not like reference counting. All that stuff I don't like, right? I understand why people like it. I understand the story behind why that stuff is good, but I have found that story not to be true for most things that I care about. So there you have it. Okay. He doesn't like pretzels. Why would you have a pretzel when you? Here, I'll give him a pretzel and then he'll stop bugging me.
Spit it out.
I'll give him a whole one. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's like a bone.
We'll take a bite of it.
He's gonna get pretzel crumbs all in his bed. Yeah, and he's dropped it. He's like, maybe if I'm desperate later. I gave that to you so that you wouldn't come back to me. All right. Okay, let's get back to business. So we're doing this struct. So add decode Q item is a pointer to a function that takes pointer to a cache. Oops. Pointer to a cache decoder page. All right. We won't even say. Well, we'll say returns void just for clarity. Okay. Now, because we don't have vtables, we are likely to need to add some other members here. But first, I'm just going to make this base class compile. Let's go back to our simple program and import cache decoder. Oops. And let's add to subversion modules, sorry. All right. So we're not even going to instantiate this. We're just going to ident expected in declaration. That's my worst. I need to, every time I see that error message, I'm like, oh, if I had to say struct 32. Oh, I put the star in the wrong place. Okay, so now we compile. So that's cool. Oh, except no, because we didn't use any of that, there wasn't a dependency on any of this stuff. So we ran the rest of our program and then complained about these undeclared identifiers. The reason they're undeclared is, remember I said we talked to the mixer and talked to the sound catalog. Now the sound catalog is not factored out. It's only in the demo program. So you know what? We're not going to use this. We're going to go to our demo program and do this stuff. So I'm going to go to invaders, and we're going to put that there. And we're going to make sure invaders compiles. Redeclaration of cache decoder. Oh, I probably declared an empty version of it. Let's see. Yeah, just so that I could interface with the mixer. Oh, those of you who saw that last stream, because this isn't totally componentized, I needed to declare some BS stuff to interface with the mixer so that we could link. And this was one of them. And now I'm replacing this with a more real version of it. So here we go. Every time I play this, I gotta play for high score. Is the music still on? Yep. Yes, it is. All right. So next, we want to, so that was just the base class. So now, let me just, even though I'm cramming this into the file, I'm going to make some, put class in sarcasm quotes, because I don't really use that word usually. I have sort of contempt for that way of thinking at this point. Whatever. It is what it is. So we're going to paste the other stuff here and then do just what I did. Or we'll start with just the OG one. We'll do 80 PCM as well later. I had that loaded in. The reason I use two different Emacs is so that I don't, it just makes things less confusing, especially if you're editing two games in the same language that have source files with the same names. It's just cleaner to keep them in different places. Okay, so I'm going to go to cached OG decoder, which we looked at briefly. And we'll take the header file there, and we will translate that. I think this is supposed to be a Boolean. Okay. So this is a struct using the base that is a cache decoder page, right? Cache dog decoder is a struct using a base that is a cache decoder, right? So we'll delete all the function prototypes again because we don't need that. Don't need any of that stuff. Although I'm going to leave these comments here because these sort of tell us, remember, we don't have function inheritance built into the language at this time, and we may never. So I'm going to need to manually make function pointers for these things on the base class, which will be straightforward. We just have to, it's easier if we don't forget which things those are. This also wants to talk to files. What did I call? Okay, my file is just called file, so that's cool. So separate handle, file handle. You know what? That's a very witness specific thing, so we don't need that. Screw it. And like I said, we're not doing opus, and we're not doing function prototypes. Whatever. Any of those comments might still be true after this is done, but they're possibly different enough that it's not worth keeping them. So Vorbis file is going to be something, it's going to be a pointer to an ogvorbis file, but we don't know what an ogvorbis file is. That's something that the Vorbis library defines for us. Now, I don't want to have to define their data structures, but for the most part, if you're just passing a pointer back and forth and you don't need to read from the pointer, then you can do this, like just leave it empty, and you'll get type safe checking, right? So the compiler will make sure that if I get a pointer to one of these back from the API, I can give it back, right? And that's all fine, but if I pass this as in the wrong place where a different pointer is wanted, right? It's its own type. We just don't know what's inside, and we represent that by making it an empty struct. Now, I don't remember what operations we need to do. It's possible I might need to look into this struct, at which time then I need to go look at what the C++ definitions of it are and port those over the same way I am for my own data structures. But if I can avoid it, I would rather not. When I'm writing C++, I do use virtual functions, but I don't use inheritance style things nearly as much as most C++ programmers do. I use them only for single inheritance, 1 deep or 2 deep at absolute most, in very simple situations. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to do all this stuff. So replace int space with whatever, and I don't know, this is, I'm going to say replace equals 0 with declaring it as an x64. And that's pretty good. I don't know, this seems like it should compile, right? You know what, I deleted my comments. I'm so fried today from working a lot that I deleted my comments about which I spent all that time saying these are the base members, and then I deleted those with the other comments. So I got to go back. These things that are overrides, we need to go put those in the base class. Cannot type today. Okay. Recompute page. Wait, didn't I? I thought I typed that already. whatever. Did I type that and delete it too? Oh no, it is just the same as add decode Q item. All right. So these are our function pointers that we need to make sure we set. I don't need these semicolons, I'm pretty sure. Whoops. All right. Let's just make sure it still runs. Still loading that file. All right. Cool. So we've got our so-called base class. We've got our derived class that loads odds. Now I am going to make it. And we don't have official constructors in this language yet. I'm not sure if we will. I'm starting to lean towards maybe doing it, but for now we don't. So instead, I'm just going to make a function that news one of these and returns it, right? So make odd decoder is going to take no arguments and return a cached odd decoder. Sorry, a pointer to 1. And I'm going to say D is new cached odd decoder, return D. Hopefully this works. Let's see if that works. I did a lot of stuff to using over the past couple weeks, and I might have broken the ability to do this. We'll find out. Well, let's find out right now. Let's say, does that compile? Nope. Oh, using does not currently work on local variables, procedure parameters, struct members, global symbols. Fine. We'll just say d dot whatever for now. Okay. So now we start getting into the actual code of things, and to do that, well, let's go to the code for the base class first, because I think the base class has some methods. It indeed does. So I'm going to paste those out, and you know what? I'm just going to paste them down here to start, and I'm going to go to my replaces. Right? Remember, I had this. So I'm going to say meta x query replace that with that. Oh, I'm in the wrong buffer though. What? Why didn't that work? This is supposed to be a thing that looks for a declaration. Let me try it again. Query. Oh, regex replace. Replace regex. What? Oh, I pasted the query replace. Replace regex of this. It's the joy of Emacs. With 2*1. There we go. So that just sort of does part of this conversion. Now, a lot of this is useless anyway because we have types that we're going to delete. Whatever. I'm going to replace null with null, and I'm going to replace arrow with dot. And then we just have a bunch of code to deal with. So get base address is going to be, take a decoder, oh. Let's do the ids here too. We'll go replace regex Oh, wait, what? Replace regex with, we're going to, some word, no. We're going to replace int space some word, right, with S64. There we go. That would probably have been faster just to do that myself. Whatever. Okay. Anyway. Okay, the destructor. I'm going to call these create and destroy instead of make. So we're just going to say free data. We've got create og decoder, destroy og decoder. Get base address. All right. No, let's pass the sound data. Because I guess we did that. Insert data, d.sound data is data, if data.name. This part here is a witness specific sort of asset locking thing that we don't need. We're just going to get rid of that for now. If we ever need it, we'll do an equivalent. All right. Same with that release. We don't do that right now. So now I'm gonna say using decoder pointed at cache decoder, right? In the long term, I think I just make a frickin' script that does this for me all the time. But for now, I'm just, whoops. I'm just going to be inserting this kind of thing, right? I don't do this often enough yet for this to matter. All right, and then I'll go back and get rid of this cache decoder double colon with nothing. And then for pages, page.mark equals false. I like it. You know, some of these things come out much briefer. In fact, at this point, I probably wouldn't have an unmark all pages function anymore, because why not just do this in place? Could you ask who made the foliage in the witness? It was made by the art team. Different people on the art team made different foliage, didn't they? Yeah, it's mostly Orshi, I guess. But some people did other. Luis did the jungle stuff, right? That's foliage.
Did like stars.
And Eric did a little, didn't he? Or...
Did like the initial like tests that we did.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. I remember that one scene with the river that he did. That was cool. A long time ago.
Is it like a separate test?
Oh no, maybe I'm thinking the valley one that was floating out off on the side.
Yeah, that one. He made that. That was like a rock test. Eric made most of it.
I was like, is that the dog jumping up there?
It's not that tall.
I mean, cats will get up there no problem, right? So, all right. I get to delete all these parentheses. Delete some type stuff where we don't need it. I don't think I need these parentheses here, but I'm going to leave them because sometimes they give me extra security. And these profile things are for an in-engine profiler that we do not have in this context right now. And when we have one, it'll be such that we don't need those macros to declare it. So that'll be fine. Is my min uppercase or lower? I think I changed it to lowercase. I don't know. Oh, all these dot calls I need to change. I could do a regex for this, but I'm just going to do this manually. Okay. That is something approximating correct. I don't know. Delete unmarked pages. For pages, if page.marked, continue, delete page, remove page. I probably could use free directly there. I don't know. Whatever. Wait. Find page goes to cache decoder page. For pages that otherwise return null. And I can get rid of my parens. You can look on the website where it's not totally up to date, but we list people working on the game. So here's a thing where I've got multiple return values, and I'm not going to do those yet. Maybe I will, I don't know. But for now, I'll leave them. No, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go all the way. So we are returning a bunch of things. We're returning whether it's found, start address, an end address, a data, and extra samples. Although, we'll leave that in. Why not? Okay, so all that goes away. Right, so here's our arguments and here's our return values. And you know what? I'm going to, well, okay, false, 0, 0, null, 0. I could give these default values so that I could just say return false here, but I'm only doing this once, so like which one is cleaner? I don't know. Return true, extra, return true, start address, end address, data, extra samples. Although, sometimes, why even do that assignment here? Why not just do it down there? Same here, page.data. And address return is minimum of these. And we always return this. Because we don't have this messiness you have in C of optional pointer arguments that people might set to null. Okay. That's a bit cleaner. And clear page, clear pages. Four pages, delete it. Do I have an array reset? Interesting. I don't know if I do. I don't. Let's make one in the basic library. Array reset. Array is some pointer to a dynamic array of some type. Array.count equals 0. That's it, I guess. We're not going to deallocate the memory at this time. Maybe we will. Like if you have a lot of memory committed, you might undo it at this point. But whatever. Okay. So I'll try to compile this again, and I'll probably get some compile errors, but there you have it. Assuming your return values 1 and 0 got 1. Line 122. I forgot to say 189, 183. Oh ho ho! I didn't realize I was doing that even as I typed this. I've got two functions with the same argument list, so if someone calls something with that argument list, I can't tell which is which. By start address, I'm going to disambiguate just by saying what it's for. Find page by start address, find page containing cursor. Find page by, I'll call it base address instead of start address to be consistent. Line 111. Oh, like I said, my assert doesn't implicitly coerce to bool. All right, 137. I use a this decoder. I could just called my decoder this, but missing argument. So this is trying to call the old thing, find page by find page containing cursor. No, I'm already getting the base address. Find page by base address. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then I need decoder. And then, okay, this is a dot call on an array, which we don't do yet. I have this array find. It returns me the index. Array find issued start addresses cursor if found is greater than or equal to 0, because that's the index. I could also just return a success variable, but I'm not doing that for now. Right. Oh, we've got another dot call on an array. Let's take care of that. I'm starting to think I might add a simple way to do dot calls, because there is one that doesn't introduce all the complication of C++. It also doesn't necessarily do inheritance type things, but maybe we don't want that. So we'll see. array add pages, comma page. Type mismatch. Again, we don't implicitly coerce to bool. This is called it. Free decoder.data. Oh no, it is not a. What did I do in the other one in the destructor? Oh, that was the pages destructor, not the. Wait, what? Oh, this is yeah. All right. That was from the base class. Hold on. And that was for the page, not the thing. So okay. Oh, it's called cached og page. I took a little bit of a shorthand there, and then the downside of shorthands is that you may forget them. All right, instead of calling it, let's make it call page. Okay. Now we're still not calling any of this stuff yet, but it at least compiled. Totally cool. All right. Now let's try and use it. Actually, no, we can't use it yet. This is still mostly the base class. I'll stop and take questions again now. I'll just say this is mostly still the base class stuff. Like I defined this, right? The struct for the derived class that loads ogs, but I haven't pulled in any of the derived class stuff. So in fact, okay, code for base class cache decoder, right? And then code for derived class cached og decoder. Just keep it a little bit straight. So everything below here is going to be the stuff that actually does the work we want to do now. Everything else we've been doing is like just enabling us. Anyway, see what people have to say for questions. And I'm going to refill the water. I'll be right back. Question away. Like this is all that I get, so. Good though. It's good to do things that push you. You know, if it's easy, you're not building the skills. Pumping iron. What are the trade-offs for going with multiple return types? I don't really want to answer that question in length. Like if you program in C and C++ and you have to use pointer returns a lot, you just sort of know the ways in which they're a little bit ugly. It's just they're not that nice. Anything you can do one way, you can do the other way. It's just less nice, I think. And niceness counts somehow, sometimes. Someone's saying, how about some array filtering API? You could do that, but what I usually find is that if you try to do array filtering like you would in Lisp or Scheme or something, usually it's just quicker just to type directly what you want, rather than try and string some filters to get modular filters or some crap together. Maybe not. I mean, maybe as we go, we'll see. I don't see a reason to make syntax for it, though. Okay. Anyway, let's, just in case I accidentally delete things or my SSD dies, we'll check in some progress. All right. So now all that stuff that I just did, we get to do with the OGG decoder code. And that's probably going to be slightly more involved, but not too bad. Let me, before I do any of this stuff, I'll go delete the opus handling like I said I would, because we're not doing that today. The reason the Vorbis and the opus handling is all in the same class is that both of those things are handled by files with .ogg extensions. Ogg is the packaging format for both of them. So, all right. Oh, we've got some PS4 specific things here. So that makes it less code. If we delete that. All right. Let's do some of our common things. We say using decoder, cached OGG decoder. And I'm going to go bam. Whoops. Bam. Bam. Oh no. Oh, this is so bad. This is so bad. Okay, callbacks are the worst thing in the world. This is one reason why we may not be able to get this done today. I'll try and get this mostly compiling. But you know, I'd wanted to load the file into memory and then decode that into pages. And the problem is you need to pass the Vorbis API callbacks for read and write and all that stuff. And those have to be defined in C++ or C, because if I do them in my language, it'll only work in compiled code. They won't work during bytecode. And I want everything to work at runtime and compile time, right? So it's very, I mean, for other reasons, callbacks are bad too. Never make an API with callbacks if you can help it, and you can. But their freaking API has callbacks, and so I'm gonna have to make a freaking shim interface that interfaces with Vorbis anyway. That sucks. So we're not going to be able to support direct from memory today probably, but we can do direct from file, I think. We'll see. Okay. That's enough. I probably became a good programmer. It depends on what your standard is, right? I mean, it depends on what axis. There are many axes of being a good programmer. I was a good programmer of just being able to put together code for my own use well before I was a good programmer in terms of knowing exactly what to do in the right way on a big project consisting of many people. That's a different skill, right? I don't know. I was an okay, pretty decent programmer back in the late 90s even. After struggling for a couple years with my first commercial game, doing 3D rendering at the time when it was hardest to do 3D rendering as it's ever been. But I've gotten better since then, for sure. It just depends on where you draw the line. I don't think most programmers could have done what we did back then, but what we did back then also, I could do much better today. So we have it. How would I replace the callback API in libvorbis if I were tasked to do so? It would be a pull API where I would say, Vorbis, please fill this block of memory with data starting at this point, and I call a function to do that, and it writes into that block and then returns to me, right? And yeah, it would basically just be a memory API, and then the file API would be a wrapper around that or something. I don't know. Like they did this structure because they sort of think it's a general structure, and it sort of is, but it's annoying if you're trying to do cross-language things. It basically blocks out people in the other language. It sucks. So I'm going to have to make a whole, I don't know. I'll think about to what degree I make a shim in front of this. I don't like glue code, though. I don't like glue code. It's annoying. I am using the stblib. You missed that part. Oh, what am I doing? Right, I'm porting this code without thinking. Right, thank you. I'm not using libvorbis and libog. So I'm using the stblib. So a lot of this code that I'm porting doesn't even make sense. Right? Thank you for setting me straight on that. The alternative to callbacks is not callbacks. You don't ever need them, ever. Like always there's an alternative that involves letting the main program keep flow control. And in fact, during the next real demo of the language, I will show a way in which most people would have, a specific scenario in which most people would have chosen to use callbacks, but that I structured differently, and you'll see how I structured it, but I don't want to do spoilers. It's going to be a really cool demo. Don't use callbacks. Don't use them. They're bad news. Hopefully Sean didn't use callbacks. Let's take a look at what Sean did. Yeah, he did what I said, right? So decode memory. Although that's a full file decode. I don't know what he means by push data and pull data. I don't think I like push data. Like I want to decode specific sections of the file. Okay. Create an orbis from a stream in memory. That sounds good. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, it looks like I can just seek and grab the sample. And so there's not a callback API here, right? The main program does what it wants to do and the library handles it. That's how you should structure things. You shouldn't do callbacks. Okay. Anyway, because this isn't going to be a straightforward translation of the old code, then I'm gonna just leave the callbacks deleted because I think we won't need them. I get to delete all my succses. Okay, let me continue on doing what I was doing, and then as we hit code that was specific to the oglib, first I'll just probably comment it out and have this do nothing, and then eventually we will replace that stuff. So we're going to replace cache log decoder double colon with nothing. This is all create decoder stuff, so this stuff goes up here. So our, wait, did that take an argument of page size and samples? Yes. All right. So going to do that. We're going to start compressed file with D. All that stuff goes away. Destroy decoder. Is this thing. I think we got rid of separate file handle. So we don't care about that. Let's put this next to the create function. Call this make og page. Oh, replace arrow with dot. Page type, page data. page buffer length, page.owners decoder, front page. Do I use this get s? That's just in the, so I have this sine wave debugging function. Anytime you want to figure out why noise is happening or something, you can fill it with a sine wave. And if the noise happens after the point where you fill it with a sine wave, because you just move around the point in your code where you fill the sine wave. And if the problem happens after you fill it with a sine wave, then you know that the bug is after that point. Otherwise, you know it's before that point. It's handy, but we hopefully don't need it right now. Recompute page. Up. Emacs. So I have to upcast this because, oh wait. Right, this is one of the things we're going to stick on the base class, right? So we have to convert it from cached decoder page to cached og page. It's fine. Okay, this is something we're going to have to deal with later. We're going to have to convert that to whatever the equivalent is in STB Vorbis. Oh. And we compute this stuff. Print incomplete OV read. I don't have a log print function yet. Do I not? Oh, I do have a log print. Sweet. But I need to specify the log mode. Cache decoder log mode dot minimal. I don't know. Okay. Assert false. And doing some of this action. Oh God. All right. Print. Incomplete. Start. Vorbis file. So all this callback stuff is going to be different. Result 4 equals -1. We're going to throw this assert right here. Oh, this is going to have to. Okay, all this stuff is going to be different. Yeah, let's just. All that is going to change. Okay, we're almost done with the file. Oh, this is multiple return values. Let's do it. Multiple return values. This is gross. Like I construct a temporary sound data and run a decoder on that. Create decoder is create a decoder of temp data 100 sample pages. Why not? Who cares? It's without no. Okay, so we return uncompressed length and samples, decoder num channels, decoder.sampling rate, decoder.bit rate. This might fail for some reason. If we fail, we already logged an error. So we'll just say return 0, 0, 0, 0. All right. We have no destructor, but we'll leave that. Okay, well that was fun. So now we have some code that still won't do anything. But, well, we also have some code that I've undoubtedly still made some mistakes, but we'll try to at least get it parsing. 252. What is the problem? Oh, the arrow. The arrow. 310. I didn't delete this. 346. Section, I guess, is just not used now. 351. I really missed some things. 473. Oh. You know what? This should just be a string. S.count, S.data. All right. Missing argument 375. Probably gonna have a few of those. So first, the first pass through the file, was all parse errors, and now we're up to semantic errors, right? So it's parsed, and now it's matching arguments and things and telling us what's a mismatch. So we've gotten a further step. Now I try to pass cached decoder to where it wants cached og decoder. And I had thought that I made the compiler, I thought that I demoed making the compiler what am I trying to say? Oh, I'm so fried right now. I thought I demoed making the compiler like autocast, that kind of a thing, down to a base class. But it doesn't seem to lately. So either I broke that or I made some decision of what circumstance that shouldn't happen in. Okay. Decoder og is not, oh. That is namespace now. Oh, my clamp takes an address now because it's not a macro. OV clear is part of the old API. Length in bytes is not a... What does my sound data look like? Oh, we just have a buffer that's a string. Great. Temp data.buffer equals s. My intuition to make it a string was right on. Although, let me set the samples as well. Extra trailing samples. As we said, that is not a thing anymore. Yeah. Malloc is alloc. Incompatible structs. Again, same issue. Owner equals base. Compatible structs. Same thing. We may have quite a few of these. Here's the thing. Right now, I'm not sure I want to keep this complication because if you look at the cached og page, it's just the cached decoder page. So I'm going to get rid of the concept of cached og page, actually. We don't need it. We're just going to say cached og page is replaced by cached decoder page. In fact, we don't need that cast anymore. Hey, and we parse. And we still run, but we're not trying to do anything to an og file yet. Remember, we're still running this the old way. Do we have questions about that boring thing that I just did? Or anything else about what we're doing today? God, I drank my tea again already. Questions, questions, questions. Questions. I'll take a short break as the questions no doubt will stream in. And then when I come back after doing the questions, we will try to actually use this code a little bit. And if we can get to the point where I can actually just manually request pages and they appear to be there, that'll be pretty good. Maybe we'll get adventurous and try putting it in the mixer. Who knows? Who knows, Dobby? You know, I don't know. When he talks about push versus pull APIs, it's just about the control of how the data goes. And I don't know, I didn't even look that closely at those function prototypes, to be honest, but push data API in this case would be like, here's some compressed data, please uncompress it. And pull API would be like, here's the range of uncompressed data that I need. Please do what you need to do to give me that. And it's that latter that we are going to want to use in a minute. Have I thought about how I might handle callbacks in other foreign libs? I don't know. It's a clusterfuck. Like, callbacks are just not a good idea, and to the extent a library uses them, whoever's importing the library needs to make a decision about how to best handle that. We could possibly, I could imagine us doing something where you can declare that a function automatically gets a C stub compiled for it that calls that function, and then you could actually hook into callbacks. That might be a thing that we could do. It might not even be that hard. I think I could make that work in bytecode pretty straightforwardly. Anyway, that would be the hard part is making it work in bytecode, right? So we'll see. But I think it's doable. It's just, it's not doable without rat holing on it and diverting from what I'm trying to accomplish today. Someone's asking, how do you know when a long operation is done without a callback? Well, that's confusing the shape of the API with synchronous versus asynchronous operations. In this case, the Vorbis API is synchronous anyway, unless you go out of your way to make it asynchronous. So the callbacks here are not even about making operations, knowing when operations are done. They're just about the way that the library has chosen to present its interface to you. It's a different issue. If you don't want to have callbacks and you want to have an asynchronous operation, how do you do it? Well, you have a procedure call where you ask the library if the operation is done. And then you call that once in a while, right? Or you have an event loop where an event is passed to you that tells you that the operation is done. So this is done all the time. This is not uncommon, right? And it's way better than callbacks. Callbacks are death, basically. They're terrible. No, polling is not annoying. Performance programmers poll all the time, bro. I mean, it depends on your specific application and what you're trying to do, right? But polling is very nice in certain ways because it is not stateful. There's no hidden state. There's no hidden complications about like what might be going on behind my back. You just ask if something is ready, and it either is or it isn't. That is very nice and simple interface. And simplicity in interfaces is very important because as your program gets big, the complexity comes from the n-squared interactions of all the individual atomic complexities, right? So the bigger those are and the more there are, the more untenable your program gets more quickly, right? If you fire off some callback and you're not sure when it's going to get called and what the global state is going to be at that time, or some junior programmer comes on and he's editing the callback and doesn't realize that there are restrictions on what he can do within that because it might be called from a certain thread or something, you're just in for big problems. Whereas a polling API or an event receiving API is much simpler and much more robust and less error prone. Callbacks are really, I mean, I'm not going to say 100% never the right thing, but 99.999% never the right thing. Something like that. Anyway. Okay. So I was going to sort of maybe start trying to call these functions, but we already know that they're not going to do anything. So I might as well. Well, we know that they link, which is good. So now I'm going to go look at the std vorbis C file. And I'm going to figure out which functions I need to call. And then first I'm going to sort of call them over here. I'm going to look for my incompletes. Okay, so I need to shut down the file and clear its resources. So where is that? Sean, what do I do to destruct my Vorbis thing? STB Vorbis close. STB Vorbis close. Vorbis file. You don't delete it. I don't think. And I'm going to search for export later because these are the things that I'm going to need to put into the header thing. Header issue. No, the module. We don't really have headers, right? Okay. Incomplete. OV read. All right. You know, I have a feeling by the time this is done, the client-side code that I use to get the data is going to be way shorter. If you remember, all that callback code was pretty big that I deleted after I typed sucks all over it. And I don't think we're going to need any of that, right? Because Sean's API is just closer to what you actually need to do. It's just a better shape of how to interface with a program. Okay. OV read, instead we're going to have to seek manually, and then, where is the thing? No, we want to pull data, I think. After calling seek frame, the next call will include the specified sample. After calling seek, the next call will start with the specified sample. Okay, I definitely want to start on exactly the sample. So it's probably supplying seek frame for backward compatibility and or speed. Okay. So we're going to say seek result SCB Vorbis seek page.start address plus cursor, right? We've got some buffer of memory and we're trying to read directly into that buffer. So we're going to seek there. I don't know what he returns. I'm just going to print it in case it looks bad. I don't know about any of that because I don't know what the failure code is. Maybe he returns -1. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to need this. And this is an unsigned int, which is 32 bits. So Sean has a limit of 4 GB Vorbis file. That's maybe not great, but maybe that's built into the format anyway. I don't know. Cast U32, that stuff. All right. Incomplete. Start Vorbis file. Right. We will, to start with, just open the file. No, because we're given something that just has the data. So we need to open stb vorbis open memory, right? Dude, we're going to be so much shorter than the frickin' Vorbis API version, the official one. It's going to be amazing. SB Vorbis open memory decoder dot, I forget, not decoder dot, decoder dot sound data. So the sound data has a buffer. Yeah. Data buffer dot. I'm gonna have to cast this because, well, maybe not. This is void star. Data dot buffer dot data. Data dot buffer dot count. We're gonna have to cast that. And we're going to pass an error return because it's a C function, so it does these things. Okay, so result or Vorbis, because it's returning me a pointer, an error code. What is alloc buffer? I think I can pass null for that. You can modify the wrapper functions, change its behavior, and yeah. Okay. So I believe we can just do that. That might be it. Okay, we might have changed the 150 to 200 lines or whatever that we needed to interface with the frickin', whatever they're called, zif.org API. We might have just done it in like 6 lines of code. It's absurd. When you make your API good, it's absurd how much easier it is to write programs for it. Okay, but now I need to do the ugly part of, well, it's not that ugly because it's not that many functions. Any questions about what I did there, right? While I reconnoiter and go to the STB. There we go. Questions. Bueller? Anyone? Questions? So I'm just leaving my comments up there. No questions. All right, no questions. Cool. Nobody's listening. They're all just making jokes in the chat. That's fine. That's fine. All right. Remember, like before, I'm going to make a struct stb vorbis that I don't know what's in it, but I don't need that. But the API, it'll be type safe, all that good stuff. stb vorbis seek. Oh, I need my foreigns. Whoops. Foreign. Sample number U32. Speed Vorbis open memory. Data. I'll make it a void pointer. That's a different type than he wants, but pointers are all the same size, so. You know what? In case people want to use this, however, they have to supply C functions in there again, because if STB Vorbis calls into there, they need to be C callable. So yeah. All right. Now technically that's sort of a callback, right? But you're just passing like your very low level malloc or whatever, which is a little bit of a different case. It's more just like passing the function to handle a common utility thing. Basically, the higher up in the program you go, the worse it is to have a callback at that point. For absolute leaf code or functions that are functional, actually, that have no side effects and don't use global state, then callbacks are fine, but those are also not the cases when people want to use callbacks usually. Those are just more like, yeah, utility functions. Okay, so in theory, that is what we need to do. Of course, I've made mistakes. I make many mistakes all the time. Like this one. Oh, and it's freaking return value. And in fact, I forgot that these return things, right? Oh, seek returns that. Well, oh, I declared it right. I declared something as an odd Vorbis file because when I did this, I was still thinking of the old API. Okay, 337. STB Vorbis seek takes the file first. What is that called? I was just there, Vorbis file. Error return 376. Oh, yes. Oh boy. Well, we get to do an interesting experiment now, because ostensibly, yeah, foreign is sort of like extern C. You could think of it that way. The difference is just, this is sort of the equivalent of a function prototype in C or C++, but you don't need function prototypes in this language, right? So what this really is more like is, it's like a declaration of the function, but you're saying, oh, but the body text isn't in this language, so it's not here. It's declared in a library that we're going to load later. So it's sort of extern, and it's sort of linkage specification. All right. So let's start using this stuff. So before we do all this commando stuff, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna instantiate a cache decoder. cache decoder. D is a new, no, create og decoder of, let's actually open a scope. We'll have something called data and page size, right? Page size is 1,000, I don't know. Actually, that's not a very good page size. 4,000, 4192, why not? So we create a decoder, and yeah, let's just see if that even works. Print D is, right? Let's see what happens. Oh, I didn't make my data. Right, so like I was saying before, I need to load the whole file into memory. So all this stuff I'm doing right now is just a one-off, like let's use a page thing and make sure it works. Once that works, the next step is going to be to integrate it into the mixer, which I don't think I'm going to do tonight because I'm starting to get tired. But that'll be next live stream. Possibly tomorrow, who knows. So, oh, I should do another victory commit. Just to keep my stuff backed up. Okay, so here, for example, we're just calling this read entire file, right? So we can do that. Oh, wait, we're not doing everything that our OGG version was going to do. Okay, we're going to need to do some stuff because I think we're going to want to ask Sean what the sampling rate and all that is for this file. Maybe we don't want to know that if we don't have to. No, okay, for the audio system to play it, we're going to have to pull the sampling rate. So I forgot to do that stuff. But we should at least be able to do this. Let's find out. So, ugh. This is a little confusing. Okay, so before I was using a sound data to do uncompressed samples, right? So now we're going to use it in the other mode, right? So if I go to the declaration, like I said, eventually the sound catalog might fill out this data, but for now we're going to do it specifically where if we're loading an OGG file, we make a new sound data. I want to say bytes, string, yeah, bytes, comma, success is read entire file. If not success, print failed load of something with the name. Else we do all the stuff that we're going to do. We'll make this easy to spot. So else, okay, so data dot buffer equals bytes. We don't set samples because that's a thing for uncompressed sounds. We set the buffer. We set the type is sound. Data dot type dot ogg compressed. Nah, that could be enough to get us started. Oh yeah, I didn't set the file name. The name is lullaby set.ogg. Who knows what's going to happen? Hey, all right. So, yeah, this is our old load where we just uncompress the whole thing. This is our new thing that we're doing, right? And this is the whole struct just kind of spewed out. And You know, I just, this one print statement there spewed all that, this thing, right? Because if you were watching all the type info demos and stuff, I do this kind of thing where if you print a struct, you can get everything. Interesting. I think there's a bug in it though, because I'm seeing a lot of 136s that I don't believe. So ignore the recursion down into the arrays and stuff. I think I need to debug that. But, you know, so here we see, okay, we've got a page size of 4192. It's decoder og. So how do we know? Let's print some stuff. Like I said, we're going to need to get the sample rate and all that and fill that out on the sound data. So let's go ask Sean about that. Let's go over here, and there was some info. Yeah, get info. Oh, and it returns an STB Vorbis info. Oh, this is death. Oh my God, Sean. Okay, we're gonna have to make a wrapper for that, I think, because it's a big return value, and I don't support those right now in my foreign function interface. I don't think. Ooh, we're gonna hard code that. Okay, we're gonna put an incomplete. This has been mostly great, but we're gonna put an incomplete on. This is the fun of making a compiler, is whenever you hit something you can't handle, you're like, ah. I was hoping I would be able to get away without ever having to do this, but I guess for practical reasons, I will. Okay, so start. Oh wait. No, cached on decoder. Cached. What? Totally spacing. It wasn't capital. All right. So start compressed file. We actually don't need this anymore, right? Let's factor that back in, because like, why bother? Okay, so we're gonna say d dot sampling rate. I don't know if these are the right variables. And this is, to do this properly, we need to know the return value of which is a big value, which is not yet supported by the foreign function interface in the compiler. So I am punting for now, but this is incomplete until later. Oh yeah, 4096. That's how tired I am. People are spamming 4096 in the chat because that is the proper power of 2, not 4192. Not that it matters, but whatever. 8192. Okay. Okay. So until later, everyone is going to think they're 44 kilohertz, 2 channels. So that makes me a little sad. I'm going to have to make some little bit of C language shim for this, or maybe this will be the impetus to get my other thing together, get my big return values together. But either way, it'll be relatively minimal. It'll be pretty easy to deal with. I won't have to make a giant weird callback shim like I would have had to for the zip.org API. All right. Well, I don't know. So that doesn't really tell us any more than we did. We'll have, whoops, we'll have some more. I love when I accidentally commit. Let me break this. So, you know, we've got probably our, or we're not printing the sound data right now. But the sound data is probably properly filled out. Now, does the decoder itself store the sampling rate? It does store the length in samples, which I believe is in that. No. How do I get total number of samples, Sean? Because I need to know that. Stream length in samples. There we go. Thank you, sir. This is so much easier. So much easier. It's kind of amazing. Monty needs to try out Sean's API and make his future ones more like that. Stream length and samples. Okay. Whoops, I'm so tired. Oh my God. Streaming just makes me tired. And I was already programming for many hours today before I came in and started to stream, and this has been a long stream. Okay, so we're doing that. We're going to call this guy, and we'll just, whoops. We'll just print that for sanity purposes. Samples is I can delete all this crazy stuff. Okay. I'm going to just assert at this point, assert Vorbis file. Whoa. I was assigning this to a local variable when really I want to store it. Assert Vorbis file is not null. File print. We'll make it easy to see. Vorbis file for this name is this many samples. Data.name and samples. Let's be OCD. Okay, we'll see what happens. Ooh, I mistyped something. Oh, nope. It's basically a long-winded way of saying type foreign, buddy. Declared identifier Vorbis file. I thought that's what it was. Maybe I'm not using. I am using. All right. Decoder. Vorbis file is a pointer to an STB Vorbis. What line was that? 240. So I'm not using, yeah. Who knows what this is going to do? Let's see. Oh, we didn't set the name, I guess, but it's a totally sane number of samples. In fact, actually, let's see if that, I think we print that out for our other way of loading. So it should match. Yeah, the numbers match. So now all we want to do is do some test reads of specific pages. And then we'll see what happens there. Let me set the name as well. Ba, ba, ba. D dots. Oh, I would do that back in our just placeholder thing here. Yeah, let's just do that. Oh, wrong commit. Oh, I still didn't. What? What? Oh, data.name. Yeah, that's right. Maybe I'm setting data.name to null and read entire. No? I don't know. Dude, what is happening? Maybe I didn't recompile. No, I didn't. I didn't recompile. That's what was happening. Hope someone on the stream caught that. All right, so we're printing the name. That's great. Let's not print out this whole thing anymore. We don't need that. Okay, so we are going to now try to read some pages. We're gonna say found start end data is find page containing cursor. Actually, let's get rid of this extra trailing samples. We don't need it. Don't need it. Containing cursor of 0. Let's make sure that works. Print found start end data. Found start end data. Oh, I keep doing the wrong command. Data is used here but shadowed later in the same block. Oh yeah, because I made another data bytes. 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 What? Are you? Oh God! Wait, what? Oh, I keep reusing the same names. Page start sample. Page start buffer. Page buffer. Page buffer. Ay, 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 ay. Incompatible structs 1387. Oh yeah, because I need to investigate why I'm not doing this autocast anymore. Let's see what happens there. It didn't find it. I think because we don't Yeah, we don't recompute the page. Okay, so that's expected. The thing that does recompute the page, the way this API is made is that the mixer just sort of tells it that it wants something around a certain cursor. So now if you look, okay, there's this recompute page thing. Oh, oh yes, okay. This is gonna be interesting. So eventually we're gonna need to stuff this on the base class like I was talking about. For now, we know we're dealing only with the derived class because we're writing some sample codes. We don't need to do that. So what we need to do, well, no, we are, okay. How do I call this? I call get page from base address, right? Or so from, okay, is this stuff. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to say, okay, cursor is 0. And I'm going to say find page containing cursor. Actually, that's not what I want. That's what I just did. Right, okay. Never mind, I totally forgot what the API of this is. The API is, you know, like in the audio mixer, you say, okay, I want to mix 0.1 seconds of sound starting at a certain sample. So you come up with a range, right? Come up with a range from like index 0 to index 1. And that range may cross multiple pages, depending on the page size and all that. You quite often will pass at least one page boundary. So what we do is we mark the relevant pages with a start sample and an end sample. So let's do that. Let's say start at 0 and end. We know our page size is 4096, so we'll go to 10,000. So that should be 3 pages that we pull in, right? And then we're going to say mark relevant pages on the decoder for start to end. And then this will call recompute page. If do not queue is true, which we'll set to true by default. Do not queue should be false if decoding odds asynchronously. What that queue thing is, you know, like say you're the audio mixer and you want to decompress some pages of OGG stuff, that may be an operation that takes a non-trivial amount of time, and you may not want to do it. You may not want to block on that right now in the middle of your audio thread. So what this queuing thing does is it actually passes that page request off to another, as a job to potentially another thread that does the OGG decompress and then comes back, hands it back, right? So that prevents you from blocking anywhere. And for that to work, of course, the mixer wants to request ahead by enough samples that, you know, by the time things are decoded, they get decoded before you need to play them, right? So that is why all this is structured the way it is. It's a little bit involved, actually. And it's why I'm porting over this code from an existing mixer rather than writing it from scratch. So for now, though, we don't have that structure in place. We're just doing a test of this base code that we do have in place. So we don't want it to be asynchronously fetched. So we've just said that, where is it? We just said that do not queue is always true. which in this case means that it'll recompute the page and it'll mark it. All right. So, and then what happens is pages that are marked, the mixer can use, and then it'll clear all the pages eventually, right? Okay. So now, if this works, if this works, then this find page containing cursor now should return us a page. So let's try that. Redeclaration of start. Let's put this in its own scope so that we can redeclare that. Okay, now I really don't know what happens because now we're pulling in some non-trivial code. It didn't work. It didn't work. And since we don't have a real debugger yet, I'm going to resort to some printf debugging. Go ahead and toss out some questions if you have any. Mark relevant pages. At this point, you could be dealing with, maybe I made a mistake when I pulled it over. We could be triggering compiler bugs. Like anything could be happening at this point. So it pays to just be careful and verify what's supposed to be happening. So we do this mark. We're getting to this printout, but it's not iterating multiple. Well, let's make it easy to spot. And just print that cursor. I don't like printf debugging, but it's till I have a real debugger, this may be the best way to do it. Okay, notice that it never even did anything. So this while is failing, like it never printed this. Because uncompressed length in samples is 0 because I forgot to set it. Right? Remember when I did that thing so that I know how long it is? Right? I didn't set this because I am tired. All right. Let's see what happened now. Oh, we crashed this time. So that's something new. That means, oh, we really trashed something. Probably overrode our buffer or something. Okay, so we didn't iterate as much as we should because our page size should be multiple pages, right? And we only iterated once, so that's weird. Why did we do that? We'll print the page. And we'll print found. And because we can't assume anything, right, I'm going to say, even though if page looks true, I'll say page is true. Someone's asking things. Oh yeah, I asked about questions. Should what be relevant? I don't understand. It's a context-free question. Should what be relevant? I don't know. Do you find that narrating your work like this inhibits or helps? It inhibits. It's a lot slower, and it makes me a lot tireder to program like this. But I think it's fun to do once in a while, so why not? You know. Like I wouldn't do this every day all the time. It would really slow me down a lot. Found is -1. Okay, that's expected. Cursor 0, page 0. That's all fine. Print recomputing page there, page, and then print cursor was, oops, I gotta do my, I wanna paste this in. Do that. See, this is all the kind of information that would be trivial if I had a real debugger, but I do not. I mean, I could try and debug the seek output, but I could also stop like the thread in bytecode and debug that, but like both of those are not great. Maybe I should invest in making the bytecode debuggable more, but you know, for now I'm doing this. Intermediate stages. Cursor in plus equals to yield that page size in samples. Okay. For now, we're asserting there. Okay, we're not getting to any of that. What print, whoops, found is less than 0. See, this is really scary. Like make page is screwing up or something, because no matter what happens, if do not queue is true, we should have printed something, and if it's false, we should have asserted false. Maybe assert's not working, I don't know. I don't know. Ah, wrong thing. Wrong thing. See, found, okay, found less than 0. So we printed that. Print, done, setting up the page. Printf debugging litters your code and is horrible. Yeah, someone's saying they appreciate watching. Yeah, I mean, I hope some people appreciate this. It's why I do it, instead of being out partying on a Saturday night. I'm such a big partier. Okay, so we're actually crashing somewhere before the next print. Okay, so that's interesting. So now we get really special here. A, B, C, D, E, welcome to the not great way to debug. A, why are we printing the H result of play? So this is what's confusing me, is this play HR is something that the direct sound system says. Oh, because we're starting up the mixer asynchronously. Let me get rid of that because that's junk information anyway. It's just confusing me. See, that's happening here. I think that that's okay, that happens async. I don't know. Okay, so really the main thread is crashing in make page, which is not that surprising. Because it's a null pointer. Duh. Duh. Okay. that, actually, if I was running that in bytecode, it would have caught that instantly because the bytecode thing tells you, oh, you're trying to call a null pointer. So I should have tried that, but I didn't. Okay, so let's fill these out, shall we? Create odd decoder. Down here, we're just going to say, we're going to stuff those function pointers. Recompute page is recompute page odd, and make page is make page odd. And change this around to this naming convention. All right. Right, because we're not using this function. Type mismatch. Recompute page. Okay, I passed the decoder, right? Because this used to be a this function. They both used to be this functions. I don't need to say that. Procedure call, missing argument decoder, line 154. Nice. Incompatible structs. Yes. Whoa. Oh, because it's right here we want pointer to cache decoder, not cache dog decoder. Recompute page. Oh God. All right. Okay, right. We just want to return. Oh, this is annoying. All right, we return this. So one other thing you get from C++ style inheritance is you get a little bit of automated casting that we're not going to have here. So when we come back into invaders here, well, actually, we don't need to know that this is an odd decoder. I think we're fine. We don't need to, yeah, we don't need. Okay, but the annoying thing is in recompute page og, this has to be a cache decoder. Oh no. Oh, we'll see what happens. I'm going to run into problems because I just had to downcast that. 272 incompatible structs cached og, given cached og decoder. 272 was the other function, make page. Yeah. All right. Okay, yeah. So this is what I was saying was going to happen. So my problem is my using isn't good enough. I can only using a parameter. And the problem is that I need to cast this, so I'm gonna be like using decoder, and then I'm gonna say D is cast to cached og decoder. And I have to say this kind of thing because I can't. My using doesn't work on local variables yet. It's the joy of having an incomplete programming language. All right, so base is not a field of cache decoder. That's trivial. Oh. Right, because now we don't have the base class. And again, this is something, if we had that auto downcast in, which I'm not sure why it's not in, we wouldn't have had to do that. It would have just worked, because we would have never had to say star d.base in the first place. Num channels, there I just got the name wrong, I think. It's line 441. Although that's weird. Maybe it's just, maybe I incorrectly just didn't. Yeah, you know what? That should just be on the base class. Like, why was that on the derived class? It does not make sense. Bitrate nominal. That, however, is very I don't ever want the bitrate. You know, that's stupid anyway. I don't think I want the bitrate. Okay, too many return values. What? Oh, yeah. Okay, what's going to happen now? Well, hey. All right, so I've got all my junk printfs here that I need to go delete now. So we did a page starting at 0. We did a page starting at 4096, right? And we recomputed it. And we got another page starting at 8192, and then we terminated. That's exactly what we wanted. And then later, we asked for the page containing the cursor 0, and we found it now, right? So we found the page starting at 0, and it ends at 4096, and that's all good. And I didn't actually, this address won't match that one because this is the address of the page data structure, and this is the address of the data pointed to by that page. But it's the right page. So I'm going to delete all this garbage that I added. Yay, printf debugging. The challenge now is to not delete actual code accidentally. And make sure I didn't do that. Well, I didn't really make sure I didn't do that, but you reduce the probability of it. You can always delete things that would have compiled anyway. All right. So, oh, implement me. Right. I guess this returns 0 if it fails. So assert seek result is not equal to 0. Let's just say that. Well, we'll do this. We might as well have our log message. Assert false. Error in stb vorbis seek. Address, start address, whatever, cursor, whatever, result, whatever. page.start address cursor seek results. Okay, so that's good. No, don't run. Stop. I want to make sure we still compile. I want to find this implement me. Oh God, we're not. What? We do the seek down here, I guess, now. Right, because we don't have to do the same. We did the code. Oh. No, you know what? Like here, okay, we do the, I used to do the seek up here and then just. I'm not doing the read. Ah, I hope somebody caught this on the stream. I'm seeking to each position and I am not doing the read. So no data is going into the buffer. So that is very special. Let's do this correctly. So seek result is the seek. Return. Okay, so we seek to the start address. Wait, what? Yeah, okay. So we seek to the start of the page, not plus cursor, because there is no cursor yet. So we start at the page boundary, but then we'll just keep advancing the cursor however much the read returns to us, right? Okay, so now we need a read, which we never had, amusingly. Well, we haven't even pulled that in. Okay. Get samples. This requires buffering applies. Returns the number of samples stored per channel. Maybe less than requested at the end of the file if there are no more samples in the file. You know what? So I probably don't need this whole loop, but I'm going to keep it clean up. If std orbis works as advertised, I don't even need this whole loop, so we can simplify it. It's going to be so much simpler. So the reason this loop is here is because you know, the zif.org Vorbis implementation uses read, right, or a plugin for fread, like an fread-like function. And fread doesn't guarantee that it reads everything that you asked for, right? It might return successfully less data than you wanted. Or maybe it's read. I forget, read or fread or one of those does that, right? So to correctly read a buffer, you then as the user need to implement this loop outside, and this is quite annoying to do all this, right? Whereas if this function works as advertised, which since it's Sean, I believe that it does because he's a good programmer, probably all of this can be one line of code. And you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to believe that it works as advertised. I'm not going to clean up this. I'm going to take the simplification. So we're going to say stb vorbis get samples short our d.vorbis file, num channels, page dot, I forget what the name of the, I think it's page dot data. It's just the buffer. And num samples. Now I don't know. It's always a little bit ambiguous whether this num samples is like the number of, like if one sample in one channel is a sample or if one sample in all channels is a sample. In my stuff, it's the latter, and I presume that's true here too, because why would you want to decode less than that? But we'll find out. So result, and we're just going to say print get samples short returns. We'll make that easy to spot. And that will greatly simplify our code. Again, this is going to be such a nicer, I'm glad we went with STB Vorbis. I'm glad I was reminded at the beginning of the stream that that was right, or I might have gone quite a ways into using the other API. Oh my God, that would have been so much worse. Okay. Thank you, Sean, for writing this. I might as well annotate where this comes from. You know what? I didn't put an export in front of this, so I need that. Wait, what is interleaved? I think I need interleaved. And what is this no integer conversion? So now, by the way, all this stuff that's happening, I'm just decoding to shorts right now because that's what I used to do. But my mixer mixes in float. So I'm actually eventually going to want to convert to using Sean's float APIs for all this stuff. I'm not going to do that yet because that's a big change because you have to change the base class and all that. But I like the fact that he's providing versions that decode to float. But I'm not going to use them yet. All right. So I'm going to put this export. I'm going to put this export. I'm pretty sure I want the interleaved. Oh, yeah. This is an array of buffers for if you want a separate buffer per channel. Oh, okay. And num shorts. So when he says num channels, yeah, he means, or num samples, he means one sample across all channels. But this is num shorts, which is different. So that's good. He's being very clear. That's good. It's good. He's an experienced API maker. All right. So I wish everybody who made APIs this good. It's kind of amazing. And two. Okay, so I don't remember if I need to cast this or not. All right, interleaved. Oh yeah, I forgot my I always forget my foreign. Oh yeah, I got to go compile it. So cd modules make DLLs. Undeclared identifier cursor, line 339. Right, because we don't have cursor anymore. We simplified that out of our code. Okay, so I need to cast some things. Right, because it's a 32-bit API, sadly. Argument 2 and argument 4, right? So num channels, cast S32, and num samples, num shorts. So num shorts, num samples times num channels. I don't mean colon, I mean times. I messed something up. Cast 32. 32 is not a cast. Okay, samples is just result if, let's just say if result is less than 0 or equal, I should never read 0, assert false, right? Negative result from STB for this get sample short. Assert false, return, whatever. Okay, so samples is greater than, we're calling this result now. You know what? Okay, samples actually is equal to result divided by the number of channels, right? Because the result probably returns the number of shorts. And assert samples mod num result mod num channels is equal to 0, just to make sure that we don't get partial shorts. No, I don't get any revenue off ads on Twitch. Are you kidding? Okay. If I were able to pay to not have ads on my channel, I would do that, but Twitch doesn't give me the option. I only can subscribe for me to not see ads. So this should not be possible. So I'm going to assert samples is less than or equal to page. Actually, samples should be equal to let's just assert result is equal to num shorts. If I did a good job requesting things, I shouldn't be requesting past the end of the file. The only case in which this should, if the file is not corrupted, the only case in which this should return a lower number than num shorts is when I try to read past the end of the file, which I should never do. Yeah, because the end address, I believe when I set the end address, don't ever set the end address. Oh, here it is. Right, I take the min of the start address plus the page size and samples. So I never should request past the end of the file is what that means, if the code is working properly. So we're just going to assert that those are equal. And yeah, we don't need to do this. Let's just get rid of extra trailing samples, like I was saying. Extra. That's gone. All right. Who knows what that's going to do? Oh my God, it compiled. All right. Well, We failed an assertion somehow. I'm not sure where. This is spammy, but it's just because I printed it that many times. Okay, interesting. Interesting. I think he's returning the number of samples, not the number of shorts, which is weird. That seems a little inconsistent, but it's consistent with the other version of this function, so I'm not sure I can complain. Because my number of shorts, I believe this is a stereo sound, so I should be 8192 on the num shorts. Yeah, num shorts is 8192. He's returning 4096, so I'm incorrect about my assumption of what he returns. So let's get rid of all this stuff. Result is equal to num samples is equal to num samples out. Let's call this num samples out. Okay. Still assertion failed. Really? Get sample short returns 4096. Of course, my assertions aren't very good yet, so I can't tell which assertion failed. Unless I run in bytecode again. Let's try running in bytecode. You know what? Screw it. Dash run main. Oh, because I changed. Oh, no. Okay, I got to do it this way. Interesting. Oh, I can't do it because I'm building in a separate workspace. I'll demo all this workspace stuff later, but I can't actually call a function in another workspace. It would be a little bit non-trivial for me to implement that right now. All right, we won't do it in bytecode. We'll do it the hard way. See, in bytecode, I actually get a panic with a stack trace. And in C, I haven't implemented a stack trace yet, which I could. I could make my assert in C have a stack trace, and that would save me much time at times like this, but I just haven't implemented that yet. So, where even were we? Definitely, I'm getting tired. Okay, get sample short. Returns 409 cached decoder, right. So the number of shorts is something, so I'm assuming, let's just see, let's just do this old chestnut. We're crashing in the second one. Num samples. I probably am just tired. I don't know. But this is why we assert. This is why we check things. Because it's better to make sure your code is right than to just run and have it kind of seem right. I mean, that's going to happen anyway, usually. But you reduce the incidence of that. Whoa, what? What? Are you serious? I'm now crashing in a different place. I'm not even calling A anymore. Is my number of channels set? That would explain a lot of problems. I don't think it's 0, right? Because otherwise, if num channels was 0, my num shorts would have been 0, and it's not. Now I'm going bonkers. Whoops. Did that again. Didn't want to. Okay, this is weird. Am I allocating my page properly? Because if I'm overwriting memory, that would explain badness, right? Okay, so num samples out is result. Wait, I already said, I knew that wasn't num shorts. What am I talking about? I knew that was correct. Like I said, it's in parallel with the other function. I knew it. Okay, I'm not sure why we were crashing there. But we're definitely crashing. At this point, array bounds checking isn't going to help us here. Not the native array bounds checking, because we're calling out to a library that's trashing memory, right? So that library doesn't know anything about our array bounds checking. Let's get rid of this stuff. So it appears that we're doing the right thing. Well, we'll keep this alias. All right. So let's just get rid of all this. So this all is right, except I believe that we're not constructing our page properly, and that's probably an obvious trivial problem. So let's go look at that. So make page, right? Happens. Print make page. Oh, I bet we're not setting page size in samples. I bet that's the problem. It's the most obvious problem. No, that's not what we're doing, because that's fine. Well, we've got 8192 bytes. That's wrong. The reason it's wrong is this must mean that the number of channels is 1 here. But I thought it was supposed to be 2 all the time. Oops. Yeah, so make page og is making 1 channel things. Now, like I said, I can't legitimately ask, okay, so here's where we break out gold wave, because we're doing that hack to get around the big return value thing. Gold wave will load ogs, and we can verify that it's a 2-channel og. I just realized my stream's going to get muted on YouTube. for having this song in it. It's going to be terrible. All right. I hope Twitch doesn't mute the entire VOD. That would be such a disaster. That would be like the worst thing in the world. Should have recorded it locally. Okay, this is a stereo sound, green and red. It's Christmas. So why do we think it's one channel? So we're only allocating one channel worth of data, but we're decoding 2 channels worth of data. And it's because the sound data the sound data, it's our responsibility to poke this into the sound data, and we're not doing it. That's the sort of thing that I haven't been too official about making an interface for it, because we might change that or refactor it somehow, but all right, well, okay, so the mixer is still not playing the sound, and I think we're not going to do that tonight, but we've done all the hard part, or a lot of the hard part, I think. The rest of it should fall into line in the next stream. Let me get rid of some of this, and then let's just verify that we're getting the data, right? Let's go to make, let's get rid of this, get rid of that. Oh man, if they mute the 30-minute section that the song is in, that's going to be so brutal. Twitch, why are you so mean? Yeah, I used to record all my streams locally, automatically, and I stopped doing that. And maybe that was a mistake. Maybe that was a mistake. Certainly for the demo, the real demo, I will record locally. Okay. Now what? What do I'm so tired, I'm totally spacing. Oh yes, I just wanted to verify that we have data that doesn't look like garbage. So the way we're going to do that is after we find this page, well, first of all, let's seek to the middle of the second page. So let's say starting at 5,000, right? What page has that data in it? And it's the page that starts at 4096 and ends at 8192. So that's fine. Now, let's look at that cache decoder page. Samples colon equals cast to sine 16 of page buffer, right? If page buffer, so that we don't crash if we do something bad. So we cast to sine 16 of page buffer, and we say for I from 0 to, we're just going to print out one, how do I want to do it? We want to print one channel at a time so it's easy to see patterns in the sound. So we'll say, we'll go to 0 to 20, print, percent, couple spaces, comma, samples sub I times 2, and then we're going to do the same loop, I times 2 plus 1. So we're going to have the left channel and then the right channel for 20 samples. Now, we might have hit a part in the sound. This is the thing. We might have hit a part in the sound that doesn't have any music yet. So it might be like all zeros. I don't. If that happens, we have to verify somehow. Yeah, look, it's all zeros. Great. Let's go to Goldwave to a specific sample that we can pick that we know is supposed to have data. It's a little bit suspicious that they're completely zero. That makes me think it didn't totally work, but maybe it's completely zero because look at the beginning of the sound. How do I change my Oh, look at that. It's totally 0 for a while. Oh, well. Well, maybe not. Wait. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, that looks like, yeah. How do I view samples options? Dude, I don't know. You know what? If we just pick somewhere later in the sound, it ain't going to be all 0. So, you know, um, are these in minutes and seconds? I think so. So 9 seconds, 9.37 seconds has plenty of sound. So we're going to go, instead of start and end being what they are, cast S64, 9.37 seconds times 44,100 samples per second, right? I have the sneaking suspicion we're still going to get all zeros, which would be bad news. Didn't find the, oh, because we, all right, it didn't find the page because we asked for a different page. We asked for 5,000. Let's ask for start plus 5,000. Ugh. Okay, we got real data. That is totally real data, and you can tell because look, it's negative, it bounces up to positive, and then it's sort of maybe coming down, right? It's got a generally musical files that aren't total noise are going to have a sort of, at this scale, notable pattern like this, right? And so here's the other channel. It's negative, it's going up to positive, etc. And let's go for more than 20. Let's go for 100. Okay, so you can see negative to positive and bouncing back down to negative and deeply negative, and then we're coming back up to positive, right? So that's totally audio data. It's totally sweet. I'm going to say here ends the stream because I am tired. Thank you for showing up. And next time I stream, which may be as soon as tomorrow and maybe later, we will then go plug this into the mixer so that we can live play all this paged OGG reading stuff that we did today dynamically. And it should, in principle, not be that hard, although it's a little hairy because, like I said, we're going to do that thing where we pass off the decoding to a whole other thread to do, and threads are scary, so we'll see what happens. Thanks for coming along. Let's do any last-minute questions. I'm going to duck out for a second again and get some water. When I come back, we'll do a couple minutes of questions, and then we'll be done, and I will then upload this to YouTube and hope that it's not hellaciously muted. Okay, so looking cool, actually. You know, there's something about maybe it's just the angle you look at, but it like better. Maybe it's just because
It'll be nice. But this is still. Oh, it's still on.
yeah, I'm still going. That's I've been not talking to myself the whole time.
Why can't you?
No, because yeah, I could in software. Usually I use the headset. The spoilers.
Beautiful trees.
The secret of the witness is 37. I could, okay, here's a spoiler. I've had this little cupcake here for a while, and it's going to go stale if a little puppy doesn't help me eat it. Oh yeah. The good stuff. Oh, it's falling. No, I have not. That I have not seen. Okay, someone is saying, maybe a bit random, but Edmund said once that you had a car robbing story. Yes, I have a car robbing story. I'm not going to tell it on the stream, though. Any programming questions? Scrolling up. Someone's saying, thanks, you're welcome. Please show us a puppy. You can tune in earlier on the stream and see the dog. I think the dog was on camera eating that first cupcake. You just have to find it.
I'm smart.
Well, I don't want to exploit the dog's cuteness to gain followers and stuff. You know, it feels bad to me to do that. All right. A lot of people thanking me for the stream. Thanks, guys. I mean, this was a pretty long one. I guess we've been going for 6 or 7 hours. I don't even know. I feel like I split the stream at 2.5 or something. Anyway, it's been some good time. What do I feel are the major building blocks lacking for the release? There's just some big features that have to go yet. And you'll see one of them. There's only a couple of really big features that have to happen in terms of high-level language semantics. One of them will be nailed for the next demo, but I still have a bunch of work to do for that. So I don't want to spoil it yet. But yeah, eventually, well, I think for the initial language release, we could do without a native backend just for people who are interested to play around. However, if we do that, we do need a better debugging story because this printf debugging is just BS and it's a waste of time. So we'll do something there. I don't know. All right. Thanks, everybody. That is, oh, another question came in. How many other people are involved in feedback for the language? Not very many people. I have a few relatively close friends who I talk to about this, and I trust their opinions. I don't, in general, trust random internet opinion because I usually disagree with it. But you know, once in a while, people email me at the mailing address for the language, and I read what they say, and I'm like, oh, that's a good point. So you know, sometimes those opinions do make their way into my little pea brain. Second question was, do you feel that major changes could happen after the initial release? Definitely. So unlike many other programming languages, this language is going to have more of a DirectX model where it's built to be revved in a major way. Certainly the libraries will be the most easy thing to rev. You won't like include standard IO or whatever. You'll include a specific version of standard IO that you want. And so the compiler could have many versions of that evolve and are upgraded and are installed on your machine, and you pick the one that you want, right? So that is going to happen. But then also with the language itself, I'm hopeful that we can do a similar tiered kind of thing where the compiler can support several versions of the language, just like DirectX. And then at some point, we drop very old versions. And if you want to compile those old versions of the language, you're just running a legacy compiler at that point. That is what I think of that. We will find out, though. I don't know when the public release will be. We just have to see. It'll be after the witness comes out. And you know the date for that now. For an IDE, yeah, that's important. We'll maybe do something, but the whole point of the language is that most of this BS that IDEs try to do for you isn't even necessary in the first place. All of this like weird organizing of build files and run steps and post build stuff, all that stuff is just bullshit to begin with, and it's not necessary. And so if the language does a really good job, a lot of people won't want an IDE. Like many serious programmers that I know do not want to use an IDE if they can help it. If only because that suddenly becomes a thing that's totally different on every platform. And if you ship, commercial code on 9 platforms, you don't want to use 9 IDEs. That's ridiculous, right? It's much better if you can just fire off something on a command line. So a big part of my target audience doesn't want an IDE at all, probably including me. The thing that I do want a good IDE on is a debugger, right? I want to pop up a nice visual debugger that does good things for me. But all the other stuff, like, you want a good editor too, but like all this stuff about like organizing your file, why do you need a thing that organizes your files? Your file system already organizes your files. It's just stupid, right? So the way that we make programming better and nicer and simpler is by cutting down the amount of BS that people just assume because it is the way that we do things, but it's not at all necessary. So that is my answer to that question. Will I be coding a debugger from scratch? Hopefully not. Hopefully somebody else will make a debugger that I can hook into in some way. Thank you for the preemptive congrats on the witness. We'll see how well the game is received. I don't know whether the world at large will think it's amazing. I hope so. But I do think it's the best game that I've ever worked on. We've put together something really nice, and we will see how that goes. All right, I am out of here. I'm going to go find out how badly Twitch destroyed the VOD. Thanks, everybody. See you later.